Hey, I'm Dr. Tom Greiner. I'm so glad that you're watching today. We have a good word coming to us today from Matt Westfield. And Matt is a professor at the University of Nevada in Reno, Nevada. And he's teaching entrepreneurial principles. Today, particularly, something called business development. And this is about how to use networking and connection to market and to increase the visibility and success of your startup business. So you're going to want to just watch this all the way to the end, and then we'll see you back here again next week. So let's just go right into this message, and you're going to be blessed.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm Matt Westfield. This is The Power to Create Wealth, and we are focused on all the aspects of entrepreneurship. I'm the entrepreneur in residence for the University of Nevada, Reno, in Reno, Nevada, USA, as well as the Adams Hub for Innovation here in beautiful Carson City. We want to thank you for being with us today. One of the things we want to talk about that I believe is hugely important that I don't think gets enough credit, especially for startups, is business development. And a lot of people go, oh, as we say in the field, biz dev. I've been a biz dev guy for 30 years. And biz dev is not the same as sales and marketing, ladies and gentlemen. It is completely different. And to me, all startups need biz dev before they need sales and marketing. And I've spoken in other modules about going out and meeting the customer and talking to them and going out and finding experts. You've heard me say this if you've seen the other modules we built. And this is so critically important. Why? Because I'm not spending any money, for one thing, and I'm validating my business. I'm making sure that I have a value proposition and a niche differentiator that allows me to build my company differently than anybody else may have, the other companies that are out there. It allows me to compete, allows me to get customers, and allows my customers to readily see the value that I purvey. Now, once I've done all those things, I need to go out and get more of those people. But remember, I don't have any money, because I'm a startup and I often don't have any money, or if I do have money, I'm spending it on other things right now, like getting all the equipment and all the things necessary to build my company. So what do I want to do? I want to do something called biz dev or business development, as I mentioned. And what is biz dev? It's basically creating relationships that help me drive my business forward. And most often, I create those relationships without spending money. Now, maybe I'll take somebody to lunch or go buy a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, and we'll talk. But this is business development. This is me finding out from customers and from experts in the industry and potential vendors and partners, and understanding more about the overall business and the overall marketplace of which I'm going to be doing business. So if we think about those things, biz dev is basically research. It is creating relationships, partnerships, and potential customers. And often I can find these partnerships and they'll want to help me and I don't even know. I mean, it's amazing. There are companies and people out there who want to help you with your business. Not necessarily give you money, but help you drive your business forward by making introductions. One of the simple things is say, hey, Tom, who else might be able to benefit from what we just talked about? That's a very simple question, isn't it? Who else may benefit from what we just talked about? And if this person's an expert or a potential customer, they'll say, you know, I really like this. We should go talk to so-and-so. This is basically the anatomy of business development. And it's amazing because it's not marketing, it's not sales. I'm not trying to sell, I'm trying to solve your problem. And if you think about that, that is an awesome thing to be doing because it's not the same as sales. Most people do not like to sell. And most people really can't stand sales. Many entrepreneurs have a tough time doing sales. So why do sales? Do business development. Business development creates relationships. Relationships create partnerships. Relationships and partnerships create sales. And they, when done correctly, create more sales. So in the spirit of biz dev, we need to be able to go out and we need to be able to speak to people candidly. We need to be able to tell them what our value propositions are, why they should buy from us, why are we different than the other companies or vendors out there. And we want to find out who else may benefit from what we're selling, from our product or service. So what type of person excels at biz dev? Well, people person. If you're a people person, this is your spirit, because to be a people person and not actually selling people or having to sell, it's easy to talk about the benefits of the things that we have. It's easy to talk about the problem we're solving Because I'm not trying to sell you. I'm trying to solve your problem. That is not the same thing. And if I'm trying to solve your problem, I'm passionate, I'm articulate, and you will understand that. And if my product or service is good enough, you're going to find that if they're not the right person, they'll know somebody who is. That's biz dev. Let's talk about biz dev really quickly. I want to go through a case study of a company that I helped build with several others. Okay? So first of all, when we're doing biz dev, before we go there, the goals of business development are this. You want to find betas. What's a beta? It's not that fish. A beta is actually somebody who's an early adopter of what you're doing. Maybe it's an alpha or a beta. Alpha is always the first customer I get, first one who pays me. I call them my alpha. My beta then is the other customers who come in right after them, but they're early adopters. So we want to find where those people hang out, where those companies hang out, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's on Facebook, wherever it is. We want to leverage cost-effective and creative means to leverage them to get them to understand what we're selling and why, and how it will benefit them and how it'll solve their problem. Once we've done that, then we can show the value of what we purvey. We can leverage cost-effective and creative means. That's not marketing. Maybe again, stickers or funny little things in guerrilla marketing that we can do to leave behind, our business card with a coupon, whatever. We want to be different, but we want to be real. And we want to be relatable. We want our customer to believe in us and trust us. Because remember, companies and people do business with people they love and they trust. If they don't like you and they don't trust you, it doesn't matter how good your product is. So be real. Be there for them. Follow up. Be ready to serve them. Okay? All right. So let's get into a true. I went up to Seattle to meet some friends back in 1996, 97. We were a SmartShape developer from Microsoft, which is a Visio product. And we were doing that. While we were up there, in Seattle, Washington, there was a huge ring of very bad people who came into town and basically stole a lot of money from the retail stores. Now, this is over 20 years ago when instant mobile money wasn't available. So on a Friday night, a group of 30, 40 people would go into a particular city in America. They would write checks to pay for things. And then on Monday morning, when those checks, they do this on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the checks would clear on Monday for all these retailers, and all the banks and all the stores would be out millions of dollars. They did this in Seattle and ripped off about $3.6 million in 2 days. And we were building these smart shapes. We had great developers, and we were doing something completely different, but we got an idea. And that idea was, what if we put together some screenshots? We work in a relational database. We had these, and keep going, Ken. These were our investors. That was my office in Seattle. It was beautiful. But what happened was anti-fraud by all of the police and by the FBI and Secret Service and Interpol and all these police departments around the world were basically people stringing pictures of faces on the wall. And that was crazy. We had the ability to put a database together where we could find relationships in a second in a 1 million person database through relational databases, which were new back then. So instead of having people trying to string relationships at the FBI in what they call a war room, we could automate it and do it in 10 seconds. So what happened? We were going to replace all the people on the walls on ladders, and we could put together associations and relationships within your computer. All right? So this is no kidding. This was a big deal. So we actually launched a product called CaseLink. And when we launched CaseLink, I went up and I didn't build anything. I built some screenshots because it only took a little bit of time. And we said, if you had a software that could do this, and we showed it to the FBI, what would you think if we could help you catch the bad guys? And we saw their eyes light up. Ladies and gentlemen, when you get in front of a partner or a customer and their eyes go like this, you've got them. This is a wonderful feeling for a startup, for an entrepreneur. When you see people go, wow, you can do that? And you say, well, yes, we can do that. You know you have a new customer. You know if you take care of the relationship, you've got a new partner. So we went in with some screenshots, simple screenshots like you see here, to show how we could build relationships quickly and effectively in seconds, not hours. And how we could do this and help them find the bad guys quicker. Do you think that the good guys want to find the bad guys quicker? Yes, they do. So we said we could take any database, put our little graphical user interface, and we could find any relationship inside the database. How did we do that? Well, we could say we could find anybody who all lives in the same city or uses or calls this one phone number. we could set all kinds of parameters. We could make them large parameters. We could use driver's licenses. We could use passport numbers. We could use all kinds of things to find and identify relationships, especially for the bad guys. So once we had all this and we showed, even though we hadn't built anything, we didn't build any software yet, we just showed fake shots of what this could look like. Well, within a few weeks, the FBI was very excited. So what did we do? We built a little scenario for them and we took it to them. Go ahead. And when we did, we showed them, we contacted the FBI in Seattle, we talked with the agents up there, we talked about this check kiting ring, we discussed their frustrations. The frustrations of what they were trying to do to catch the bad guys. And we thought we could help them. Once we heard their frustrations, so we built this silly little thing. It wasn't even a software program. It was just a set of screenshots. Then we started building the real application, which was a tiny little application, what we called an MVP. And if you've heard of an MVP, this is just enough of a product to show the customer what you're trying to build. What did we do? We showed it to him. His eyes lit up. It was great. He brought in his boss. And then she brought in her boss. Well, then they saw that it worked. And we made sure that any changes or bugs we had in the software, we could fix quickly to keep them excited. If it took too long to fix something, they would lose interest, wouldn't they? So we had to be there for the customer, just like you do. Be there for your customer, be there now. Make any fixes or things that they don't like about your product or service, fix it and tell them that it's done and let them know you're here for them. That's half the battle, ladies and gentlemen, of building a company, is to use business development and that relationship you've built to make sure they trust you. Okay, so once we did that, we made changes really quickly. We started building the actual software. Once we did that, we knew they were part of the build. In other words, now our customer who's going to pay us is actually helping us build it. How cool is that? When your customer is your partner, you know they're in for the long haul. So we knew we had them hooked. We went to Washington, D.C. to go to FBI headquarters to show them what we had built. Sure enough, the supervisor in Washington, D.C. brought in their supervisor. Next thing we know, we had a very high-level FBI executive there looking at our software. Boom, we had 200 seats at the FBI. Once we had the 200 seats, we knew people had other FBI agents or ex-agents who went to work for insurance companies, went to work for the CIA. Sure enough, we went back, got more seats. They brought in the assistant director. Woohoo, we knew we were rolling. Okay? From there, we asked, who else could benefit from what we're doing for you? And one of the FBI agents said, a buddy of mine works for the CIA. I went, great, let's talk to him. Talked to the person at the CIA. They had an international case they were working around the world. They bought 100 seats to test it. Boom, CIA. Next thing we knew, we heard the Secret Service that protects the money in America and the president. They were interested in our software. So boom, we went ahead and went off to meet the folks at the Secret Service. Okay, keep going. All right. During this time, we weren't making a lot of money, but we were getting seats because we were trying to get them in cheap. We found out that the real money is with insurance agents. Turns out insurance companies around the world spend a lot of money on anti-fraud, people trying to steal insurance from them and fake policies and stuff. So it turns out the insurance agencies where the money at. Turns out the ex-FBI agents who leave the FBI go to work for more money in the private companies. We got a lead to an ex-agent who now worked for an insurance company. Go ahead. So we didn't want the government to take all of our products, so we made a new product called Fraud Tracker. Boom, we went to the insurance companies, go ahead. We went to the insurance companies and enter Fraud Tracker. New style sheets, new logo, new packaging, beautiful padfolio, go ahead. And what happened? We now had the FBI, we had the insurance agents, and they all worked together. Well, what happened is we found out that State Farm wanted thousands of seats. We sold them thousands of seats, and boom. Then we found out that all the companies that were working for Microsoft back in the late 90s were getting bought up. Sure enough, 1999, we got bought. Go to the last slide right there. Thank you. So in 1999, we were acquired by a company called DBT Online, which was a database company for the government. Welcome back. We were trying to get through business development, and I was speeding up a little bit, and I want to keep going with this a little bit, and then we're going to get into a tangential topic. But right now, as I was talking about, we built the world's first anti-fraud software with a team. We had a small, scrappy team. We were able to move quickly, and we were able to build relationships and alliances with law enforcement because we thought we had an idea to build a software that had never been done before to help the police and help law enforcement. And it worked. And basically, in just a few years, the company was able to move rapidly, find the customer that could be a partner in business development, which is, as I mentioned in the last segment, creating relationships. And if we can create these relationships, it's amazing because these relationships can take us places that money can't. You can get an influx of money from an investor or a loan, but if you don't have the relationships to spend them, it doesn't matter. I prefer to build companies by building the relationships, and frankly, the money will come when I deserve it, and it'll come at a time when we need it. So if I'm getting customers like I was in this last segment with the FBI, the CIA, the Secret Service, insurance companies, we're getting those customers, then it's easy to attract people of money because we're attracting customers. It's hard to get money for a company before we have proven that the customers want what we're selling at a price that we can sell time and time again. And recall in other modules, I've stated that I don't care how good you are, how smart you are, I care that people buy what you're selling twice. And if it's a one-time sale, I care that they tell somebody else. In our last segment, we talked about how we went to the FBI, we knocked on the door, showed them that we could build this thing. Once we built it, they turned us on to folks at the CIA, and then we found out folks in the Secret Service. They led us to the other markets we needed. That's what business development is, ladies and gentlemen. BizDev, to wrap that segment, is about creating relationships that with people who can directly or indirectly benefit from what we're selling, and if they can't benefit, they know somebody who can. And getting that warm introduction makes it better to meet somebody you haven't known because you're being introduced by their friend. Ladies and gentlemen, this is basically the essence of business development. Building companies through creating friendships and relationships that can help you drive your agenda, get your business, and take it forward without spending a lot of money, getting the customers to build the product or service with you. It's a huge, huge benefit in building a company, especially when we're struggling for cash and things like that. So I want to take that and I want to lead into another quick segment regarding strategic alliances. And if you think about it, what is BizDev? We talked about it's creating relationships that can help us either directly sell or to find the markets in which to sell into through these relationships. Well, what is that? Those are alliances, aren't they? Those are strategic alliances. Those are, you could call them possibly partnerships. A strategic alliance is a little bit different than a partnership in that we're not actually exchanging money or contracts. What we're doing is we're agreeing that we're both going to work together, but we're not joining the companies or anything. A strategic alliance is you have your company, I have mine, but we're going to work together to create more value for both. Just like we did with the CIA, the Secret Service, et cetera, and the insurance companies. We created value for these other companies through these alliances. Let's talk about how that works, can we? All right. So strategic alliances basically are the results of business development, like we were talking about in our previous segment. And so I want to talk about a set of strategic alliances that I built many years ago in the crazy world of virtual reality. All right. And in virtual reality, for other modules you've heard, I've spent time building virtual worlds and helping get virtual reality out of the Department of Defense, 25 years ago, and into true marketplaces. And we were building virtual worlds at the small private college I worked at. And it was very exciting. So let's talk about how we created a strategic alliance with IBM. I went to work after I'd sold my first company at about 29 years old. I stumbled into the world of virtual reality and 3D technologies. I was enamored with it because I came out of landscape architecture, design, build. And I used to do all my manual drawings, and I saw this ability to do this all on computer-aided design. Wound up going to work for a small college in Phoenix, Arizona, and they were creating some really cutting-edge virtual worlds. And so they had a small laboratory that that we were starting to build called the Computer Reality Center. And this is where we had the latest in equipment for 2D and 3D modeling, computer-aided design, wireframes, building virtual worlds, and we had very expensive computers in there that could perform a lot of these. We also had very sharp young students who knew how to code, develop, and build virtual worlds. So virtual reality back then, or VR as we called it, is the ability to create a world inside the computer that's very lifelike. Now, 30 years ago, it was hard to do because gaming was young. The ability to build these, we didn't have all the memory and all the ability we have now with the dynamic computer systems. Back then, it took a huge computer system weighing almost 1,000 pounds to build these virtual worlds, and they cost $1 million. Now you guys can do it on your phone. Okay, so this was a big deal back then. Went to work for this college, and my job at the college was to help engineers and corporations be able to keep their 3D skills, their 2D and 3D CAD skills up to date with new versions coming out. So I was going to go in and train, or have teachers come in and train these engineers on all the latest and greatest features of AutoCAD and some of the other related CAD technologies. So we developed relationships, and we trained people from famous Motorola and AT&T, the big U.S. company, telecom company, United Technologies, very large multinational corporations. We'd go in and train their engineers. We would also use this money to help perform research and get our students involved with working with these companies to build new virtual worlds. Super expensive, very hard to do, but it was exciting. And when we brought people into that computer laboratory to see what we were building, people were in awe of the virtual worlds we were creating. Okay? So once we did that, 1994, IBM Europe developed the first virtual reality system that was all in one. Before that, we had to buy all the parts, and it would cost $250,000 to $500,000. This computer only cost $50,000. It was only in research in Europe. It was not in America. I decided I wanted to bring the first one to America for the college I worked for. All right? It was revolutionary. It was only $50,000 at the time. Woohoo! So that was a big deal. I wanted to bring the first computer to America. IBM built it in Europe, and we didn't know anybody at IBM. So what did we do? Did some research, and I set up a meeting with an October meeting at a virtual reality conference in San Jose, California, with the European product manager, who I looked up and found and had a call. He was in Paris, France, building this system. And I laid out what we wanted to give them, because we're a small college in Phoenix, but we were the world's largest CAD training center at the time. So what did we want to do? I told them we wanted to develop apps for this brand new system, applications and virtual worlds. We wanted to develop training curriculum because they didn't have any. IBM didn't have any. They were busy building the computer. Then I wanted to train IBM employees and customers, and we wanted to do strategic marketing. Okay? So what did we do? In October, we met. I told them that we would develop training for IBM employees and customers on the system. We'd develop real-world applications so they could market it. And we would market the alliance and training throughout the US and Canada. Well, what really happened? We wound up just on the eve of the holiday, Christmas Eve, we got a memo saying that they were shipping 3 of these brand new systems to us. Not only did I just get 1, I got 3. Why did IBM send me $150,000 in computer systems for free? Because they saw the value we brought by being able to do training and be an official training center. That's what we did. We had a reputation as a training center for computer-aided design. They were building a system, and they didn't have any applications for it except what the developers had built. We could build that out for them as their partner. Turns out they loved it. We had no idea. So what happened? As I said, in December, we got the first, December 1997, we got the first 3 systems. We had developers come in, and IBM paid for it for them to come in and train on our system. And then they came in, they would train and go back. We would train other people on the system. And basically, we were creating virtual worlds for IBM. We were doing strategic marketing and co-developing. And it wound up being millions of dollars in strategic alliance for our college. And now this was a for-profit college. But here is the final, if you see, this is the final newspaper article where we developed this virtual reality system, and for several years, we were the pinnacle of virtual reality, all because I had an idea that we wanted to work with this system, didn't know anybody, had to do my research, and we went over there and we gave a compelling reason why they should work with us. And what were the compelling reasons? It was determining exactly what did we bring to the table. So when you're building a strategic alliance, ladies and gentlemen, don't try to approach the other side from what you want. Approach the other side from what you want to give. And if you are willing to give up something of value to the other partner, they will see that and respond. So I knew that I wanted those computer systems from them. But before I asked for those computer systems, I told them what I wanted. I wanted to give them training. I wanted to help them build worlds and make this computer system viable. A computer with no content does nothing. They had a beautiful computer. We had the ability to create real world applications, and they knew it. So the whole point of this is strategic alliances don't have to be big. They don't have to be with corporations. It may be with the store owner down the street. It may be with your neighbor who makes their own clothing. It may be with a high-tech company in the city or somebody in the village or the town around the corner from you. Understand what value you have to bring to an alliance and be able to list those 3 or 4 things that you're willing to give to the other side. And if you show value in the other side and they like what you're doing, you'll see their eyes light up and they will be interested in working with you and creating that strategic alliance. But remember, both sides have to benefit. Both sides have to believe they've won. If you believe that at the end of the meeting that you're being shortchanged, it's probably true. You may want to renegotiate. If the strategic alliance on the other side doesn't believe that they're getting a good value in the relationship, then you need to figure out what it would take to get them to believe that the value of what you bring to the table is of equal or better value than what they're giving you. And if we both believe we're getting something bigger than we're giving, that's the power of the strategic alliance, ladies and gentlemen. So the first thing I do is I look for who are the companies or the people that I want to approach, because not everybody's going to be an alliance, and I want to put them in order of the ones I want the most, and I go meet with them. And I go buy them a cup of tea, or I go meet and sit in the park. And I talk to them about what I believe working together will create for both sides. If you can do that, you will find that strategic alliances will help you build your new business in ways you never imagined, without spending a lot of money, and by being introduced to others who can benefit. And this is the power of people, the power of strategic alliances, the power of business development, which we talked about in the last module. Put all these things together, and ladies and gentlemen, you have a story to tell, you have a customer to go acquire, you have money to go make. This is the magic of building a company.